What's up, guys? Hey, so I just talked with Matt Bell from HBI. This team is the team that Masterpool put on the map last year. But man, what a great conversation. What a great team. This is a team run by Matt Bell, this is a true smart businessman that understands business. He loves his sport. And he's got some really good ideas. And I'll tell you what, I really hope Feld and MX Sports understand what a resource he is. And I wish one of these factories would look at what he's doing and how much of his own money he's putting in and really maybe give them some support, because this sport is better with HBI Racing in it. But I'm going to let Matt tell you all about that. This is a great conversation. And if you really like the sport, please go give them a follow. Go see them in the pits. They are some of the nicest people, and they are very, very genuine and good for this sport. Couple quick shout outs before we get into this. Coach Rob Podcast. He does Navigating Amateur Motocross. He's got Andrew Short on this month. Epic Garage Designs. They got their Father's Day special. Get your 2-car garage for $2,100. Strapped goggles. Some of the coolest goggle designs you'll see. Chuck your X-Brand, get yourself some Strapped. Head over to Ride Strapped. And Precision Transport. If you're shipping anything using a truck, more quality people in the Madden family, go to pretransport.com. All right, guys, let's get into this.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
All right, guys, so I got Matt Bell. What's happening? Team owner at HBI. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Chris. How you doing?
Great, man. I've been trying to touch base with you, but I kind of wanted to give you some space. You know, you're in your second season, right? So
Yes,
what do you?
sir. Well, 1.5, I guess, kind of.
Okay, so yeah, I would say I would say 2. You're in your second year, and between you're in your second year. So as a second year team owner, what do you think, man?
So it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. That's what we hope for. Like the reason why we went into this, I think we talked before, was like helping riders, but having fun at the same time. It's definitely been more challenging, I think, than we thought. Like there's different things I think that came up that we didn't think would be challenges, but are. It's for sure more expensive than we thought. Privateer life it's a tough gig, man. It is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, for sure.
So we had the big news. So Tai Masterpool really put you guys on the map last year. You picked him up for the 450s. He was given the factory riders fits. He was all set to do that again. Thursday before the National. Talk me through how that happened when he went to Pro Circuit.
Yeah, so we were flying out to the race on Thursday, and we were on a plane, and I had Wi-Fi. And so I was just kind of scrolling through Instagram, and I think Verb or somebody had an article out talking about how Pro Circuit had 2 riders that were injured during practice. I think it was McAdoo and Hammaker. So I was sitting by my wife, and I told her, there's a good possibility Pro Circuit could reach out to Tai. Like, I didn't know how bad their injuries were, but I thought that could be a possibility. So we were about a half an hour from landing, and I get a text from Tai that says, "Hey, can you give me a call?" And as soon as I got the text, I'm like, I told Darla, I'm like, I know what this is. I know what he's wanting to talk to me about. So I texted him back. I said, "Hey, let us get off the plane. We're still in the air. I'll call you, when we're in the airport." So we called him, and it was as I suspected. Pro Circuit had reached out to him. It's funny because we were literally parked right beside Pro Circuit at the track. And so, he said, "Hey, Pro Circuit's reached out. They're wanting me for a fill-in ride." He was like, "I've been praying about it." He said, "What do you guys think?" And so Darla and I both said, like, you need to take this opportunity for sure. Like, I wouldn't even hesitate. And so, I mean, we can't match what factory teams are going to give. And I know, like, fill-in rides, I don't know what his deal is. I mean, we don't ask, and he doesn't need to tell us, but I think it's an opportunity for him if he does well in outdoors, which I think he is going to continue to improve every year. I think it's going to be a way for him to get back onto the factory side of things, which is what we want for all of our riders. So we hate like losing him, but I mean, he's still part of our family. I mean, like, Jerry and Tara are still hanging around the pits because Jake's there, and I helped Tai pack up after the race, and he's telling me how he seat bounced the skid plate, in that first moto through the rollers. So we have a great relationship, and he actually sorry, I'm rambling on, but like we have a text group where like all the riders are in, all the mechanics, the parents of the riders, and Jerry and Tara and Ty are actually still in that text group. Like we encourage them. We tell them, hey, we're praying for you. So we're super excited for him. We hate to not have him on the team, but we love that he's doing good on pro circuit. So yeah, we're stoked.
So what kind of problems does that present with now with your sponsors? Did they say, hey, we were giving you money because we thought you had Ty? Have you got any backlash that way?
Honestly, not really, which sort of surprising. I mean, you never know what would happen like next season if sponsors would come back and say, well, you're not going to get as good of a deal as you got this year because you don't have Tai Masterpool. I mean, the kind of neat thing was that so Jake, I don't know if we want to get into Jake
Oh
Masterpool
yeah.
thing
Oh
yet.
yeah. That's on my list here.
Yeah. But like him coming on board and hadn't ridden in 4 years, I mean, that kind of adds another Masterpool into the mix. So the sponsors have been good so far. I mean, like we have people that have been sponsoring individual rounds, and those guys, we have some that are still coming up for like Redbud and Iron Man. They're still completely on board to sponsor us for those rounds. So I've been really thankful for that. I mean, no like major backlash. Everybody's been super supportive.
So I've been a big fan of Jake Masterpool for a long time, and I always thought, man, I can't believe he can't seem to get a ride because he did so good in outdoors.
Yeah.
But I was also very, very frustrated when I saw that Ty's bike's available, and then yet he's still soliciting sponsorship. Why wouldn't he just get on that bike?
Yeah, so it was tricky. So we had one of his bikes there at on the truck. And then Ty had a practice bike back home in Texas. We could have thrown Jake on the bike. The tricky part about it was we were trying to figure out, well, how do we get his suspension set up for him? How do we not only on the race bike, but on the one back home? Because, we're using AHM, which is out of California. So it'd be a lot of back and forth. It just wasn't feasible at the time to just throw him on the bike. And Jake had already had sort of a deal with a local gas dealership. So there were some guys there that were supporting him in Texas, and he was trying to navigate like not burning that bridge as well because he appreciated the help. I mean, honestly, like we didn't really put this out there, but the gas that Jake is riding, we actually helped him get that back several months ago. Because he just needed a little help to get on a bike. The dealership gave a really great deal, but there was some money to be put down, and he didn't feel like it was right to burn those bridges. I mean, this dealership had helped him build a race motor. I mean, there was a lot of effort they put into it, and to just say, well, screw you guys, we're going to put you on Ty's Kawasaki, it would have been not great for him, and so we wanted to honor that.
Yeah, that's great. And that's stand up. And the master pools, the knock on them in the past is when they're like, hey, we do our program no matter what. And the way it looked from the outside is he was just like, no, I just want to ride the gas. I don't want to be on a Kawasaki. Now, is he part of your team? Is he pitting out of the truck? How does that work with Jake?
Yeah, so he is part of the team. I mean, how it started off was Jake had reached out several months ago, said, we met him when we went to the facility a while ago. Super nice guy, met his wife. They're great folks. He lives out there at the facility. And Jerry had kind of, I don't know if you talked to Jerry a whole lot. He kind of put the bug in my ear. He's like, hey, Jake's thinking about coming back. It'd be really cool to have a couple master pools on your team. What do you think? And so we entertained that. And I said, well, have him talk to me whenever, he's feeling better and is ready to go. So Jake reached out and he said, this was a couple months ago, and said, I'm thinking about doing some outdoors. Didn't know, what kind of support you guys could provide. And I had said initially at that time, like, we can definitely haul your bike around for sure. Like, we're happy to do that. I don't really think we can do a whole lot more for you because, we've got Ty on our team. We're putting a lot into him and the other guys, and I can't really back off what we're doing for those guys just to add you on. Now that Ty's no longer on our team, we've been able to actually allocate a little more resource to Jake. So we're able to put more into him. It's not just him getting a ride. Like we're actively putting money into his program like we are the other riders on the team to help him out.
Wow. And a lot of people were like, man, I can't believe Ty ditched him and left him high and dry. But there are no hard feelings, right?
Zero. I mean, I told him to go there. Like he asked us what we thought. I mean, and you know, it's really tricky because I look at a lot of the social media stuff, and you know, people don't know what deals people have with teams. I mean, there's a lot of rumors that fly around about what we were paying him and what we weren't, and I'm not going to get into that. But Ty, we were taking care of Ty really well when he was with us. And I mean, I don't know what he's making at pro circuit. It may be more, it may be less than he was making with us. I don't know, but I still told him in that conversation that I think in the long term, this is the best deal for you to go get on a factory team, show people you can make it at a factory level. And we told him straight up, like, if this doesn't work for you, you always have a home with us. Like, we're not mad you can't come back. We would love to have you back, but go try to follow your dreams, do what you can do as pro circuit, and let's see where it goes.
That's awesome. And now we had talked last year and you said kind of your goal was to get these guys to where they can go to one of those teams. And now that
Yeah.
you lost your A guy, your top dog, do you still feel exactly the same way? Is that still the plan moving forward, is to get these guys those opportunities?
100%. Like, absolutely. I think that there was a lot of, like, what a lot of people don't know, before Supercross, Ty there's the rumor was always going around, well, Ty can't ride Supercross. He doesn't want to ride Supercross. The Masterpools don't like Supercross. All this BS going around, and none of that honestly is true. He was just he didn't go to the first 5 or 6 races because he was injured. Like, we knew his ankles were a little bad, but we didn't know how bad they were. Honestly, after outdoors, he was pretty beat up, and so he was getting treatment on his ankles. And we had talks with him from the beginning of the season. He was going to go to A1, and then he called us and he's like, "Look, I just don't think I'm going to perform. Are you okay with me not racing?" And I said, "Yes, just take your time, get healed up." Once we got to about the 5th round, he was better on the ankle side of things, but he tore his calf muscle and practice. It was just like one thing after another. And he finally called us one day and said, like, "I want to go race, but I know I'm not going to be able to go the full race. Like, my stamina is not there because I haven't been able to put in, full 15-minute motos." And we had a pretty frank conversation with him. And I said, "Look, I know you may not perform the way you want to, but you need to be out there on the track. Like, if you don't," and you and I talked, kind of texted about this, I think.
Yes.
I said, if you don't get on the track, you're fulfilling the prophecy that everybody says we won't race Supercross. And so he did. He showed up. He qualified 40th, I think. Actually, that race barely made it in because they took away his fastest lap time because I think he failed sound. And it's kind of, he worked his way through. I mean, the 450 class is tough in Supercross. I mean, he had never, everybody thought, well, he's raced Supercross in the past. Like, he had raced, I think, 2 races ever in Supercross prior to this season, and not on a 450. So you're jumping straight into the big boy league with, like, in your rookie season, essentially. And I think it was intimidating for him, but I'm super proud of him that he did it, because the reason why we were pushing him to do it was so he would get these kind of opportunities with pro circuit, because those guys will not pick you up if you will not ride Supercross. And so Darla and I talked about this, and we're like, this is exactly why we told you to do this, because of these opportunities. So yeah.
When that was pretty much what we said in our text message. I was like, he's got to get out there. Like, that's been the knock on him. I mean, he's been a pro for what, 6-7 years now? And for every year, never fails, some sort of an injury or illness happens to come up. And at some point, the industry says, well, how come he can be healthy for outdoors, but yet every single time for Supercross, is there a fear? There's got to be something more. But the fact that he pushed through that, went out there, it was not the greatest performance, but he did good. The fact that he showed the mental toughness to get out there, good on you. And I think someone like you in his ear probably did wonders for him.
Yeah, I don't think he really liked the pressure a whole lot, but it's I kind of view him as a son. I mean, I am almost 50, so I got a kid that's older than him. And so one thing I figured out with these pro riders is that, they're not 40-year-old adults. I mean, they're they're sometimes younger than their physical age on the maturity level because all they've done is race dirt bikes. And so they need somebody to guide them that's honest and has their best interests at heart. And so I think Tai, our relationship changed a lot the last year. When we first met him, it was very like we're the team owners, he's the rider, and I'll communicate with you, but that's about it. The last 3 months, it's been more of a friendship, and I think the trust has been built because we pushed him to go do Supercross, and we still paid him and kept him going. Even though his performances weren't great, I think he realized that and said, okay, these guys really are out to help me. It's not that they're just trying to manipulate me.
Well, and there's so many people in this industry that do write you off so quickly. So Moto Concepts did this a few years ago. McAdoo got bumped up from, that Geico wanted him, but the team owner went and said, hey, listen, you can only have him if you're going to commit to him for a couple of years. Have you thought about doing something like that with your guys and saying, hey, Pro Circuit, you can have him, but you better commit to him?
Yeah, we've thought about it. I mean, this wasn't a situation where Pro Circuit came to us and really talked to us about it, to be honest with you. They went through Tai. I mean, it would have been nice for them to come talk to us, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. The way we draw up our contracts with some of these guys, I mean, we leave them, we have open so they can go to a factory team. So it would have been fine. I would have still let him go, but I think for Tai, just because of all the negative, I guess, publicity with him with factory teams in the past, I think even though there's not maybe a long-term contract in place yet for him, it probably made sense for him to do the fill-in ride just to shut up all the people who were saying the negative things about him, that he couldn't be part of a factory team and all that jazz.
Well, and a lot of it was, the parents are hard to deal with, and a lot of different things like that were out there, whether they're true or not. That was what was out there. And that was why I was so excited. And I wanted to make sure I got you on here because I knew that you guys parted on good ways, but I just wanted to get it out there and show the people.
Yeah. I mean, parents of riders they can be a pain in the butt to deal with. I mean, I love the Masterpools, but you got to remember, like, these parents they all want what's best for their kids. And so, the relationship with Jerry and I and Tara and I have changed a little bit in the last year too, because I think Jerry, coming into this, I think the Masterpools, you hear it from one side, but they felt like they've gotten shafted a few times by people, and promises have been made and they've been broken. And so, when they came on our team and we were telling them kind of the same thing you've been told by other people, I think that they felt like, okay, but I don't believe you really, because we've been told this before. After we had this relationship a little longer and I started communicating more directly with Tai, I think Jerry realized, okay, I can back off a little bit because these guys are the real deal. They really do want to help my son. They're here for him. And I think when Jerry saw that we were helping Jake some as well, kind of get the bike, I think he realized, hey, these guys really are in it for the right reasons.
Well, that's awesome. And speaking of, you got some really good guys on your team, and there's one of them who I was critical of when he went pro, Caden Braswell, but I ran into him at Arena Cross this year in Daytona, and he's limping around with his knee, but he looked somewhat okay. Where is he? I was surprised he wasn't out for outdoors.
Yeah, so Caden, like, he's been kind of in flux a little bit. He, he hurt his knee before Supercross, had to have ACL replacement, basically. Well, I think it was his second one. So he had messed his ACL up in the same knee, had to get that fixed. And so there was the question mark going into the season, like, is he even going to be able to ride outdoors? Because an ACL surgery, I mean, it's like 6 months of recovery. And even when you get past the recovery, how long does it take you to get into race shape? And so you may see Caden back in a race before the end of the year. I mean, I think he's trying to kind of feel his way back in. Honestly, I don't know if it's going to be with us or not. We're still talking with Caden. We're on great terms, but I don't know if we're going to be able to offer Caden, maybe what he needs going forward long term. So, we're open to kind of anything. I talked with him, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and he's going out to help with a camp in a few weeks, an FCA camp. And so he's still keeping active and training and riding, but I don't know at what point he's going to be ready to physically get out there and battle on the bike. And when he does, I would expect him to be out there on a 450.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. So, and I got to ask you, you got your boy Hardy Munoz, who has to be one of the most exciting guys, but does it ever stress you out watching him?
No, it always stresses me out. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, he rides on the fine line. Hardy is a great guy. He's struggled this year. He's not performed probably the way we thought he would. He last year, remember, he smashed his face in pretty good. I can't remember what race that was.
The outdoor national was, I think, I want to say Ironman, but I don't think it was Ironman.
No, it wasn't Iron Man. It was one before that. But he smashed his nose in. I mean, crushed it. And so that's affected his breathing some. He's honestly not able to breathe fully out of one side of his nose. And so you'll see him start up there in 18th place, and he's constantly kind of dropping back. And it's because he's just had some issues with breathing. He's trying to get that figured out. And so, I mean, I still really fully believe Hardy has 15th place speed, but he's just not able to hang up there right now because he's just not quite there with on the physical side of it. So he's got some things in the works to try to get that squared away to where he can really breathe better. I mean, he was dealing with that the whole Supercross season too. It's not just been outdoors. But I'm proud of him for pushing through. I mean, he goes out there and he gives it everything he has every single race. So I can't fault a guy for that.
Oh, you can't fall. He 100 and he gives like 150%, and it's crazy to watch. He scares me, but at the same time, he is nonstop. We need like a Hardy Munoz cam all the time.
100%.
Tell me about some of the other guys on the team. You got Slade, Varola.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Slade, Varola, and then we've got Aiden Shive, who is just a local guy from Dade City. We've helped him out for the last couple years, just a little bit off and on. He was with a team called Future MX and raced Supercross with us in 250s. I think he's more of an outdoor rider, to be honest with you. He seems to be doing better. I think he's up in there 28th, 29th place. I think he'll be up in the mid 20s in 450 class probably this weekend. So great kid. Just another example of somebody that grew up with difficult life, to be honest with you. And we've been trying to just sort of guide him through the process of how life works. Like the one thing, I'm just going to throw this out there, like, so you all know what how it works to be a team owner. So Aiden had never flown by himself before, ever. I don't think he'd flown on a plane before this season. And so we were on vacation this past weekend in Homosassa Springs, and Aiden was flying by himself. And I said, look, if you get to the airport and you can't figure it out, just call me. And his flight was at like 6 a.m. I told my wife, I'm like, he will call me, I'm telling you, at 5 a.m. and he's going to need help. So I left my phone on, calls me, and I'm like, here's what you got to do. I mean, it's kind of like having a teenage kid, to be honest with you, because you're trying to help them through all those things that they just haven't learned in the past. They may have had parents, or in his case, his Uncle Donnie has helped him kind of through his whole career, in amateurs. And so he needs a little help from somebody like us to be able to navigate those things. So yeah, Aiden's a great kid. He's super appreciative. Slade Varola, he was doing futures and came on our team to kind of fill in for Caden Braswell, and fell in love with him and his family, and they're great folks from Simi Valley, California. He's been grinding away, just a super awesome attitude. So we're thankful to have those guys on the team. They're easy people to work with, which makes it fun.
So a lot of these teams in the paddock, they're kind of like I call it carpool racing. Essentially, they're on a team, but they bring sponsors or money to get their spot on the team. Do you guys offer any of that?
Not currently. So the way we've always done this was in the past, I mean, Supercross, outdoors has been a little different. So Supercross, I'll kind of talk about that. The riders that we had on our team for Supercross basically had zero costs to race. I mean, we provided bikes, engines, flights, hotels, everything you could think of to be able to race with zero cost. Outdoors, we were honestly going back and forth on whether we were going to do it. What made us decide to definitely do it was because Tai, we thought he was going to be on our team. And so we're like, man, we want to give this kid a chance so he can get on a factory team. So we backed off a little bit on some of the support we gave, and we still give a lot of support to these guys, but we made them put a little skin in the game of their own money, their own sponsors to be able to do it. And I think it's helped them honestly maybe appreciate it a little bit more, because I don't think these guys have any clue before this season what it actually costs to do this. I mean, unless you've been in it, you don't really know what it costs to race a full season of outdoors. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy, the expenses, and yeah, just to have somebody get most of those expenses is a win, and that's, dude, that's so honorable. And the sport needs so many, like, we need people like you, and I'm glad you're doing it. So now that you've been a team owner for a year and a half, going on two, what's the biggest challenge you've had as a team owner?
I would say the biggest challenge for me, probably, I think the hardest thing for me is just the amount of time that it takes to do this. So I don't think I really realized how time consuming it was, when you're running a team, because like we have a team manager in Chris Alley who's basically volunteer, but he does pick up some of the load for me and doing like hero cards, and he orders food for the privateer dinners on Friday nights and does some of that stuff. He's at the races every single race, and deals with the rider issues, but arranging travel, making sure these guys get there on time. I mean, been the hardest thing, because there's not really a whole lot of time off. I mean, I'll get texts at midnight from the mechanics in California, and then 5 a.m. the next day because their guy can't get on a flight or whatever it is. So that's been very challenging, I think, for us, just to be able to balance that out with actually working a job that makes money to keep all this going and stay married to my wife.
Yeah, yeah. I saw her in Daytona, so she looked like she was having fun. That was a cool setup you
Yeah.
guys had in the pits there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she enjoys it. I mean, she really loves these guys. She thinks of them as her kids, just as I do. So she really just she's I'm the harder one. I'm the guy that says you're not riding very good. She's the one that reaches out, when they come back and they don't make the night show or they don't make the motos, and says, "Hey, I'm praying for you. I know you can do this. You just keep your head up." She's the comforter and the motherly side of it for sure.
That's awesome. So, what's the very best thing about owning a team?
Um, Honestly, just getting to be involved with all these guys who I kind of looked up to as heroes and seeing them in the pits, and that's the cool part of it. I think the most rewarding part of it is that we get to let these guys live out their dreams when I never had the opportunity to do that. That's the really cool part of this, and why we keep doing it, even though it's super challenging. So I love that part of it. I know Darla does as well. I mean, being mentors to these guys, not only in motocross, but in their lives, that's huge for us.
Well, and like I said, I don't know you real well, but from what I do know you, I would probably turn my kid over to you. And you can't say that about a lot of these teams. So I think you guys are doing a
Yeah,
great job.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
Uh, where do you see the team in 3 years?
man, that's tricky.
I know I'm
I
asking you
don't.
that. That one's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I honestly, I don't know. I mean, it could be right where we're at. I mean, a big part of what determines, like, do we take this to the next level or do we stay where we're at, is whether we have either some major title sponsor step up and put cash in, or we have a factory team step up and say, hey, we want to really support you guys. Because to do this at a level like the level I want to do this at, is that we put guys on bikes that can compete. I mean, they're not going to be pro circuit or star bikes, but pretty close. I mean, outdoors is tough in the 250 class. Like, you're racing against 20 something factory bikes, and they have the best of the best and the fastest bikes. And so I think we have a pretty competitive bike. But to get there, I mean, we probably have $200,000 in our engine program. I'm not kidding. Like $200,000 literally to get there. And we have very fast bikes. I mean, you saw Slade Varola pull a whole shot on factory bikes in one of the motos in Supercross. Well, there's a reason for that, because we spent a pile of money to get him there. But to keep that up year after year, I mean, it's going to take more than the money we have to put in. because it's just not feasible to do it. I mean, we've invested a pile of our own money in it, and we will continue to do that, and we love to. But to stay competitive with the factory guys, you either have to have factory support, which we don't have really, other than we get a little bit from Kawasaki, but we're not a satellite team. We're not getting handed bikes. And so I don't know. We'll see. You know, if one of these teams steps up and says we want to help you guys out, then I feel like I'm a good business person. I think I would do a good job handling what they give us. But you know, and if they don't, that's okay too. You know, I can't. That's up to them. That's not a choice I can make.
Well, and like Yamaha has so much money invested in Star Yamaha, but then they
Yeah,
always end up looking for a fill-in rider here or there. Why don't they just give you bikes and then have you got built-in fill-in riders with the bikes? And you know,
yeah,
I'm not sure why somebody wouldn't do something like that. And you're the perfect guy to do that with.
yeah. I've kind of I agree with you on that. I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I'm the one that would be getting money, but I had one of the teams say we're not going to do this because we don't do satellite teams. And I said, and their argument was, well, we could take the $250,000 we're going to give you and go buy another rider. And I said, well, okay, but for if you give me 250,000, I'm already putting in like a $500,000 to 750,000. So you're getting a lot more bang for your buck by putting this in because we're going to be able to get a better rider, have better bikes, better team, and that's going to make your brand look better than it is. I mean, that's my argument. I think it makes sense, but I also don't run those teams, so I
No,
can't make
and
the decisions.
sadly, logic doesn't always win out, but I'm with you. I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. I think that's a dumb idea not to do that and then just have a contract with you where, hey, if we get to a certain amount of riders, we get to have one of yours to fill in for. I seriously don't see the downfall in that, but it is what it is. Hey, so I see a lot of you guys talking about Lightning Rod Energy. Is that one of your new
Yeah.
sponsors?
Yeah, they're not really helping us out. They help some of the riders out individually, so we help promote that because we want the riders to be able to make some extra money on the side. So those guys are out of Texas. They know the Masterpools really well. They've been out to their facility. I think Slade is sponsored by them. I think Jake is as well. And so yeah, we want to help these guys out. I mean, they're a startup company. They're trying to get their feet underneath them. I'm like, hey, I'll post some videos out there and help you guys and see where it goes.
Very cool. Very cool. Any sponsors you want to thank before I let you go?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the two of the huge ones for Williams Performance, they're the ones that do our engines. Chris Williams in Florida down here has been awesome for us. I mean, just aren't a ton of engine builders you can trust. He's very trustworthy. He gives me a line of credit so I can pay him over time, which helps. He trusts us that we're going to pay him. And he's been awesome on the engine side of things. And then Canvas has been great on the gear side. They're the ones, honestly, Canvas on the gear and then Dirt Lab Concepts on the graphics. They're why we can bring in these title sponsors because we can customize graphics and gear for these individual folks. And so they put a ton in, and super thankful for Michael Lieb with Canvas and for Trevor Dunn with the Dirt Lab Concepts. They've been huge supporters of us this year and have allowed us. They may not be handing us money, but they're handing us something that we can go out and get more money to bring in to put into the program. And so, and between those two guys, to be honest with you, we've probably brought in about $100,000 of title sponsors for races because of their products, which has been massive. So yeah, go check those guys out. They're awesome.
And if somebody wants to get their motor done, can they contact them directly, or does
Yeah.
he just do teams?
No, he does anybody. I mean, Chris Williams, so Williams Performance, he's on Instagram, on Facebook. He has about $1 million of CNC equipment. So in the past, he was building heads for Firepower, a bunch of these satellite teams, and wasn't really wanting to get into the building side of things. And then long story short, we had an issue with the guy that was actually building our engines, and Chris said, look, just let me do it. This isn't what I do, but I really like what you guys are doing. And I want to help you out. And so he's developed our engines, built our engines, and then it's been an awesome deal. So yeah, I'd highly recommend him.
And if there's a brand out there, a startup or somebody that wants to help your team, should they just reach out through Instagram, or how should they get a hold of you?
Yeah, just reach out to me through Instagram. Love to talk to you. I mean, we have a lot of different options on sponsorship, and our goal through all these things is to bring business to the people that are sponsoring us. So we always tell people that one of our major sponsors is a tax consulting company, which kind of mirrors what we do. But we I know you're in real estate, and so this guy does cost segregation studies. So if people buy vacation homes, you can write the home off quicker. And so our sponsorship on one of the races was it's like $10,000, and he saw what we were doing. He's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get any business out of this, but we want to help you guys out. We like your deal. And I'm like, dude, we have like 3,000 clients that can use your services. So the next week we sent him enough business that actually covered what he had given to us, and he's made money off of us. So that's the whole deal. I mean, this industry it feeds off of itself, and there has to be money coming in from the outside, or else it's never going to grow. You're always going to have teams come and go. There has to be outside money coming in, and I hope Feld and Pro Motocross and all these guys will realize that, like, shoving people out is not the way to make the sport grow. You have to try to bring in additional sponsors from the outside. And I don't know. I can't stress that enough. I think that's going to be important for the growth of the sport moving forward.
Man, I could listen to you talk about that all day. I've been preaching that. It drives me insane. And thank goodness we've got a businessman who understands that if you come in and sponsor this team, it's not just a gift. We're trying to benefit the sponsor. It's not just a gift. And that's what most people, it's just a gift to the team. Like these, I call them ego sponsorships, some rich guy that just wants his name on there. But if you can actually turn this into a real way to actually benefit them, we can bring in more. So that's awesome, man. And I hope that more people reach out to you, and I like your team and the way you're setting this up. I know it's hard, but dang, I really hope everything works out and you keep doing it, because you are an asset to the sport.